Well, Mike Florio is good for at least one post a day over at profootballtalk.com. Actually, a lot more than that. And I wanted to bring on Mike specifically because I know we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And I know we're going to have Marcellus Wiley on later to talk about what the Packers should do with Aaron Rodgers. Very important when you're talking about the NFL. You have to understand the money. You have to understand what the players' options are, what the team's options are. And Mike Florio does a terrific job. ProFootballTalk.com at ProFootballTalk had a breakdown of exactly why it's not really in the Packers' hands at this point. Is that right, Mike?
Well, look, the Packers, and hello, Ross, good to talk to you. It's been a while. The Packers worried for 2 years about Aaron Rodgers wanting to leave. At some level, they may be worrying about Aaron Rodgers wanting to stay at a time when they may be ready for him to go. And they've tied their hands with the contract they gave him earlier this year. He's due nearly $60 million next year, fully guaranteed. They cut him, he still gets the money. Now, it would be subject to offset if he goes somewhere else, but no one's going to pay him $60 million next year. They got a huge problem. They got a cap issue they'd have to deal with. Even if they trade him, the cap hit would be crippling. So unless he decides to retire and walks away from that $60 million, and he set up the contract so he could, without financial consequence, having to pay back money, for example, he can walk away. If he walks away, problem solved. They moved on to Jordan Love. But if he stays, he's getting that $60 million. And what are they going to do? Put him on the bench and pay him $60 million? So if they're thinking now may be the time to pivot to Jordan Love, and he looked pretty good the other night against the Eagles, Aaron Rodgers is going to have a big say in whether that happens. And that's a wrinkle that the Packers haven't been dealing with. They've been so worried about him leaving. Now they have to worry about him wanting to stay when they may want him to go somewhere else or retire.
So, because I had heard that it was basically a 1-year deal, and then sort of we'll see after that in terms of what happens. But it sounds like that's only from the Rodgers perspective and his ability to get out of it, move on, not really from the Packers perspective. I'm a little surprised, Mike, that they seemingly didn't consider this possibility that he might play poorly or that they might want to move on to Jordan Love, especially since next year will be year 4 for Jordan Love. Like they totally kind of gave up on Jordan Love.
Well, I don't think it's that. I just think that they assumed after they saw Aaron Rodgers win back-to-back MVPs, after they used a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick to get Jordan Love, because they used the 4 to trade up to get him. I don't think they expected Aaron Rodgers to fall off the way that he has this year, or the team to fall off the way that it has. And with this thumb injury, rib injury, Aaron Rodgers openly saying he wants to play until they're mathematically eliminated, I think is a practical matter. They may be at the point where it's done. We see Jordan Love play really well on Sunday night. You're at the point, if you're the Packers, I mean, if I was a Packers fan, I'd say, I want to see Jordan Love the rest of the way. Give him some reps. Get him ready for next year. Let's see what we have. They got to make a decision on his 5th-year option by May of 2023. They don't have enough data to come to a good decision as to what to do about Jordan Love for next year and beyond. So I would be very antsy about wanting to see what we have with Jordan Love so we know whether or not we've got a successor in the building to Aaron Rodgers at a time when it feels like Aaron Rodgers is starting to decline. And from his perspective, he holds all the cards. He can do whatever he wants to do. And even if he's inclined to retire, now he'd have to be inclined to walk away from that $60 million, but he may decide to just stick around just to throw a little wrench into the front office's plan. I mean, we've seen that kind of impishness from Aaron Rodgers elsewhere. So I think it's a delicate situation. If the Packers are thinking, hey, we'd like to move on, the worst thing they could do is let Aaron Rodgers know that that's what they're thinking.